Marijuana is still considered a Schedule I illegal drug in the United States on the federal level. However, Utah recently joined 31 states in legalizing it on a statewide level for medicinal purposes. Revisions by the legislature from the original Prop 2 initiative changed who qualifies and how it may be taken. Students attending a Dixie State University Pizza and Politics talk learned that the new Utah Medical Cannabis Act is in limbo.
Prior to the enactment of the law on March 1st of 2020, it's still legal for people to have cannabis for medical purposes, but we just don't have any of the infrastructure in place yet to regulate that. So there's no infrastructure in place to grant cannabis cards. There's no infrastructure in place for pharmacies to give out medical marijuana. But law enforcement has been told, and the law states, that if someone has a qualifying condition and has marijuana, they are able to use it in the state of Utah even before that infrastructure is in place. The weird part about that is you have to go break federal law in order to get the marijuana.
A medicinal dosage form can now be a tablet, capsule, concentrated oil, or something that dissolves in the mouth, topical, transdermal, or a gelatin cube or lozenge. It must also be properly packaged and labeled. The newly revised act doesn't allow for the actual raw plant or cannabis flower to be smoked or combusted. However, in House Bill 3001, vaping appears to be accepted. This causes concern for lawmakers and others who are trying to keep marijuana and other unlawful substances out of the hands of youth.
My legislation would be to give additional tools to the SRO officers, not necessarily become overly heavy-handed, but to at least confiscate the contraband, to test it, and if it involves drugs, illegal drugs, to handle that appropriately. One of the other issues is how does this all relate, or having marijuana in these vaping devices, how that's going to play out with the new law regarding medical marijuana, because in some cases a young person can actually be in possession of medical marijuana or claim that it's medical marijuana, and we have to look at that and make sure that we're not allowing that to be used to bring product into our schools and make our schools unsafe.
Those who currently hold medical marijuana cards from other states are also held accountable to Utah's new law. If they travel across state lines, it must also be in an acceptable medical dose. The prescribed uses of Utah's Medical Cannabis Act have also been changed. Qualifying conditions are listed as HIV, Alzheimer's, cancer, persistent nausea, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, epilepsy or debilitating seizures, multiple sclerosis, diagnosed PTSD, and autism.
The cannabis treatment that will be available to individuals that have those qualifying conditions. And those individuals will then have to go to a doctor and be approved to get a cannabis card, which the state will lend out and will help regulate.
Under the new law, there will be inventory control, electronic tracking, and special packaging of legal Utah products. Those issued a card may not have previous felonies, and the medical doses may not be used in public. Because it is a medicine, it is not allowed to be taxed. While the number of opioid deaths are going down, Utah still ranks number 7 in the nation. The hope by many is that the medical cannabis might reduce those numbers even further.
And this substance is far less addictive than opioids and far less lethal.
From Washington County, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.